Yeah, before we jump into questions, I just want to thank a handful of people on our campus and in Corvallis that have been working tirelessly, even during the Thanksgiving holiday, to get this done for our student athletes and university community. So just want to express our deep appreciation and thanks to President Schultz and our team at WSU, which is beyond athletics, as well as Oregon State President Murphy and her team as well in Corvallis. So it's actually been really heartwarming to be surrounded by so many dedicated professionals willing to put in a lot of time to find solutions to these complex problems created by college athletics. And also be remiss, I'd like to thank the Mountain West Conference, Commissioner Navarez, for coming to this agreement that we all hope is a win-win for all parties involved when it's all said and done. So I can pause there, and Bill, we can jump right in.
All right, we will take questions. Please raise your hand if you have a question. You'll be called upon. We'll start with Jamie Vinica, Coug fan. Go ahead, Jamie.
Hey, Pat, thanks for taking the time to do this. What will the cost Wazoo to play those Mountain West schools? I know one published report said something around $14 million between WSU and OSU.
Yeah, so I would those published reports are accurate. I mean, this is a financial agreement between us and the Mountain West Conference.
And then, when it comes to kind of the budget planning, how is the revenue chasm going to be addressed? And do you envision university support to expand to the Mountain West school average of $20 million per year?
Can you repeat that question, Jamie, the last part?
Do you envision the university support to expand to the Mountain West school average of $20 million per year in terms of revenue?
This is a football agreement. So ultimately, we have 6 additional non-conference games that have been supplied by the Mountain West. This allows us to live in this 2-year grace period that has been granted by the NCAA to retain our FBS status, provides the flexibility we need to continue to negotiate and navigate, through whatever happens in college athletics over the next year or two, as we try to position ourselves appropriately at Washington State.
All right, next question, Tim Booth from the AP. Go ahead, Tim.
Hey, Pat, you mentioned there about this being a football decision. I'm wondering where things stand at this point with your other sports and more specifically, maybe basketball and a possible agreement with the Mountain West on that. And then subsequent to that, where do things stand about 2025? Are you looking at another partnership with the Mountain West for 2025 as well?
So I'll hopefully answer all the questions. One, just as a reminder to everybody, football scheduling is very it's complicated simply because how far out games go. So as you're trying to piece together a football schedule for a following year, those games just simply don't exist now. For example, I remind everybody that when we fulfilled the back end of a home and home with Wisconsin, it was actually my predecessor, Bill Moose, who scheduled those games, not me. So that's how far ahead or far behind football scheduling is. With that being said, obviously there's a little bit more. There was minimal, more than normal inventory available because of all the realignment scenarios that played out in August. But ultimately, there is the urgency with football was necessitated simply because we needed to put a football schedule together for the 24 season. We are working on parallel tracks for all of our sports here at Washington State, and we're hopeful that those announcements can come out here shortly.
All right, next question, Greg Woods of the Spokesman. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Pat, thanks for doing this again. I know this is operating, in the 2-year grace period. How much thought have you given to, or what kinds of talks are you guys engaged in terms of this going beyond this 2 years potentially?
This specific agreement is, we are working to operate in this 2-year grace period, and I remind everybody what it will look like in college athletics looking forward in 2 years. I remind you how much change has happened in the last 2 years. So both schools, I can speak specifically to Washington State, want us to provide as much flexibility as we navigate through this grace period, as we try to be strategic in our decision making and position ourselves best in what is, in this realignment environment that's only going to continue in college football.
All right. Next question is from Jordan Smith, KXLY. Go ahead, Jordan.
Hey, Pat, talking about the other 14 schools within Washington State's athletics, I know that there's also a necessity to get those schedules figured out. What is the deadline for you guys to have that ironed out? I know they're kind of in limbo right now.
Last week. So they're all urgent, and we're working on those on parallel tracks right now with trying to get this football piece done. And like I said earlier, hopefully we have an announcement here, shortly.
Next question, Travis Green. Go ahead, Travis.
Hey, Pat, thanks for doing this. When fans see this, I guess, marriage here with the Mountain West, I know this is premature because you guys are figuring out things day by day basis, it feels like, but will this lead to a future merge with the Mountain West? Is that the goal that you guys have with putting together this scheduling?
Well, I would sit here and debate you that this is actually an agreement for 6 non-conference games with the Mountain West. So as I reiterated earlier, we have this 2-year grace period. We need to operate out of the Pac-12. We want to provide ourselves with as much optionality going forward. One of those options is to try to build out the Pac-12. So this provides perhaps 2 years of a solution for one specific sport. We're trying to figure out short-term solutions for our other sports, but this is one of those things that what today's announcement is finalizes, I guess, essentially 11 of our 12 football games for the 24 season. And we hope to have a final schedule announced hopefully in the coming weeks.
Next question, Alex Crescenti. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Pat, theoretically, if, say, a Boise State or a UNLV were to make the expanded college football playoff next year, just sort of confirming that WSU and Oregon State would not be getting those payouts because they're not a member of the Mountain West Conference, correct?
We are not members of the Mountain West Conference. We will be members of the Pac-12 Conference next year.
All right, we have time for just a few more questions. Tim Booth, go ahead.
Pat, can you explain how the TV deals will work for the games against the Mountain West schools, and I guess also for your non-conference games that you have lined up already?
So that's the next step and why we needed to finalize our football schedule. And obviously we have one more piece, the 12th game that we have to come to a conclusion with. But we'll work with Oregon State through the conference to identify television opportunities and partners as normal with traditional TV agreements. We'll control the rights to all of our home games. So we'll begin that process in short order as soon as we finalize our football schedules.
Next question, Kyle Bonagera, ESPN. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, Pat, do you have a sense of what the branding is going to look like for the Pac-12 next year? Are you continue to call it the Pac-12? Are you going to name it something different? How does that work?
We'll still operate out of the Pac-12. So we'll keep the marks on our field and marks in our stadiums and marks on our jerseys. I just want to reiterate, this is a, today's agreement is 6 additional non-conference games when you boil it all down. So it's definitely a partnership. It allows the 2 schools to get to know Commissioner Varez and the Mountain West Conference a little bit better. But the reality is the amount of instability in all of FBS and all conferences is a real issue for college athletics. And, we're going to make sure that we position ourselves in the most strategic manner going forward. And this agreement does allow us to live in this 2-year grace period to make a decision if building out the Pac-12 is a viable option or the right option.
Next question, Andrew Quinn.
Hey, Pat. Hey, Pat, I just had a quick clarification. You mentioned that the scheduling going forward is non-existent. You guys were scheduled to play San Diego State out of the Mountain West as one of your 3 non-con games. Is that going to be included with the 6 Mountain West games, or is everything completely changed now, or will there be 7 Mountain West games adding that game?
They are all non-conference games. So we always had 3 games that were previously scheduled: Portland State, San Diego State, San Jose State. We have the Apple Cup. We have our conference game against Oregon State. And then we have the 6 additional games from the Mountain West due to this partnership. So they're all essentially non-conference games. these are 6 additional non-conference games that we received from the Mountain West. How they categorize them, how they account for them in their conference standings are decisions the Mountain West will make.
Final few. Jordan, go ahead.
Hey, Pat, just a clarifying question here. I know you mentioned several times this is a temporary solution here, kind of a Band-Aid for this problem. Are you, as an athletic director, looking at this as maybe a kind of, I guess, a tryout period to see if maybe there's viability with using some of these Mountain West teams to rebuild the Pac-12 moving forward with this next, with these 6 conference games, excuse me, non-conference games?
We're going to continue to be strategic and aggressive with any future decisions about Washington State. And what this allows us to do is to operate out of this 2-year grace period. And as we go forward, we'll continue to make decisions. As I mean, everyone on this Zoom follows college football specifically in college sports, and the plates continue to shift beneath our feet with college athletics. And we just want to make sure that as they continue to shift, we're positioned correctly as change is imminent.
Time for 2 more. Jamie Vinnick, go ahead.
Pat, just in regard to kind of, the one open date you have left, are the Texas Tech rumors legitimate? And if not, are you looking at other Power 5 schools to fill that date?
We're working to get the best possible opponent here in Pullman for that final date. And whenever that comes to conclusion, we'll make an announcement.
All right, final question, Kyle Bonagera, ESPN. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, another question kind of along those lines. Is it viable for you guys to play Oregon State twice and just do a home and home and make it to simplify the process for both schools that way?
Though the oddity of what we currently have in front of us, it does provide flexibility with what we do with Oregon State. So we have talked through those as backup scenarios, but to your point, Kyle, that is something that is always an option if needed.
All right, just wanted to kind of open things up. Obviously, not in the situation that we like to be recapping the season. So early in the year, obviously with a lot of potential on our team and where we're at. And I think the biggest thing as we continue to build a program, I think that's the biggest thing on my mind is, I sit here today through, all different types of challenges and circumstances. We're headed into year 3 of building the program, and even while I share, some of the disappointments of this season and some of the things that we were capable of doing, I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about what we're building because most importantly, I believe in the people. I really believe in our players, and I ultimately believe in the process of how we're doing it and what we're going to do to take us to where we want to go. And that's my biggest task in this offseason. Obviously, we're entering into a huge recruiting phase that's going to shape our program for the long haul. But we're building this thing from the ground up. I'm excited about the amount of young players in our program and then continuing to add to that because there's a developmental process and piece that you always have to have here at Washington State to go out there and be successful. And it takes all of us. And we've done a lot of positive things here in the first couple of years. First and foremost, I'm really proud to have the highest, cumulative GPA in Washington State football history. Okay, we're all about developing men, and we're accomplishing that mission. We are tied for the 3rd most wins in the first 2 years of a head coach in the program. That's something you can't take lightly here at Washington State, and I think that's important. We're tied for first in home wins in the first 2 seasons. But there's a lot of positive things that we can take forward in our program, even through challenging times. I'm excited about today's news. Excited about getting some questions about that because going forward, it's all about building a playoff caliber team. That's the focus of every college football team at the Division I level. And those are the opportunities that our scheduling, alliance and partnership allows us to do. And that'll be the focus of the process going forward. So I'm excited to work with our team. I'm excited to, keep recruiting and have a great signing day here in a couple of weeks. And I think all Cougs can be really proud. But as we continue to build this program, it takes everyone and every facet of what we're doing. So excited to work with every member of our campus community and our distinguished alumni faculty to make sure we're getting the results that we all want. With that, I'll open up with any questions.
All right, as a reminder, please raise your hand. We'll call on you. We'll start with Austin Getz, KHQ. Go ahead, Austin.
Coach, with all that's been going on with the uncertainty around the program and the litigation and all that, does now having at least a skeleton of a schedule and knowing the kind of opponents you'll be playing next year help in the recruiting phase as prospective future players now know a little bit more about what next year will look like?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And, the skeleton, we're 11 of 12 games and, hopefully to really be really close to getting that 12th one here in Pullman really, really soon. So I think it does. I think uncertainty, depending on who you are, can cause, people to, feel a certain way about things. But our recruits, we've been open and honest through this whole process. That's why we've been successful. That's why we've been able to maintain all the people that have committed to us for the most part, because they see the vision of what we're trying to do. Now it becomes clear. And I'm a big believer, even more recruiting, yes, but within your team. I think it's great when information comes inside out. We've been open and honest every step of the way with our communication process because it affects everybody on our team and their families. So we've been open to those discussions, and today is a big day for moving forward because it sets the vision of what we need to do.
All right. Next question is going to be Julian Minninson. Go ahead, Julian.
Hey, Jake. What kind of conversations did you have with Cam leading into making ultimately his decision? And then when it comes to the program moving forward, what are you going to be looking for with either the guys you have on the roster now, quarterback, and what you could be looking for potentially in the portal and recruiting?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I want to make sure, just kind of taking back behind the scenes and opening up of what has progressed. Okay, I want everyone to know that there has been great conversation with Cam and his family for a long time. Okay, we always knew this was going to be the destination of what he was going to be doing. Right, this is not a shock. This is not a surprise. We have always supported Cam. We support Cam in his decision today, and we support Cam in his efforts going forward. Cam wants to play in the NFL. I think he has all the tools to do it, and I think there's still some refinement that might be necessary. Just having a great conversation with him last night, that is still his ultimate goal. Unfortunately or fortunately, we've created a college football environment through the NIL that provides opportunities for players, that we can't withstand here at Washington State. And that's a hard, really, waters to navigate. And I'm very supportive on Cam, and he's keeping all those options open as he continues to determine his future. And I think, a lot of Washington State fans should be very appreciative of Cam. They should be very thankful for Cam and what he's done here the last 2 years. I've enjoyed my experience with him completely, and I know I've invested every day since he's been here in trying to help him achieve his goals and dreams. So as we, wish him well in the next part of his journey, this is now real. To make multiple millions of dollars in the college football game is now real, and my job is to help support him through that and prepare him for those moments, whether that's NFL or whether it's going into this new phase of his career. I've always appreciated him and his family being open and honest and working with me, and this does not come as a surprise.
All right, next question, Gianna Cephalou. Go ahead, Gianna.
Hi, Coach. I'm just wondering what your reactions are regarding the news this morning about the Mountain West scheduling agreement with Washington State and Oregon State, obviously given, close geographic location-wise, as opposed to the other 10 members, traveling across the country for their games next season.
Well, that phase of it doesn't come into my mind because we're so singular on what we need to do to advance and get better and set the direction of our program going forward. So I'm excited about it. It's good to have a target and to know what that looks like. And this gives us an opportunity to put a playoff caliber team out on the field. That is what it's about. And, I think it's interesting when you really dive into it. It's about getting into the top 12 going forward. I think this schedule allows us to do that. When we started off fast and we were 4-0, we rose to 13th in the country. And there's a couple examples out there. The CFP, they care about winning. They care about winning. Tulane's ranked 22nd. I believe they're 11-1, and they haven't beaten a single Power 5 team. Liberty, I believe, is 24 in the CFP deals, and they're 12-0, but They haven't even played a Power 5 team. So our schedule allows us to get to where we want to be. And that's always going to be forward. And that's everyone's goal of, having ability to play in the college football playoff. That is what this partnership with these extra non-conference games allow us to do.
All right, next question, Jamie Vinnick. Go ahead, Jamie.
Coach, excuse me. I know you just talked about Cam a little bit. Is there a scenario in which he's back at Washington State, or is that just not on the table?
Well, I would think right now that's not on the table. I think, his vision is going to the NFL, and, I think he's going to, take time to listen to some of these opportunities that are going to be afforded to him in college football.
All right, next question, Greg Woods of the Spokesman. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Jake, I know you can't get too specific with the recruiting stuff. I'm just wondering, getting into this agreement with the Mountain West, which is kind of the way this has been heading for a while, with some reports out there. I'm wondering if you could kind of just give us a sense of just like the vibe that you're getting from some of these guys and kind of what they think of, and how that impacts, your efforts.
Like I said, I really hope that everyone commits for the right reason. And I feel like we've done a good job throughout the course of this cycle in recruiting, targeting the right person, not just the right player. And yes, we have visions and goals and dreams for these guys and what they can become, but it's about the right person. And I believe the guys that we have committed to us and our targets going forward understand what we're about as a program, understand what we're going to demand of them when they're here, and we want to be partners with them in their future success. So it's about telling the families, it's about showing the player what that's going to look like here. So I think we've gotten ahead of it, and we got trust. Recruiting to me is about two things. The players that we recruit need to love being here, period. Because those are the guys that succeed here the most. Second, we, as a program, we need to gain the trust of the family and support system. That's it. Recruiting's not standing next to a bunch of Lamborghinis. All that stuff is noise to what a young person really needs to succeed. And we try to show that to them. And I think we've had a bunch of kids that have really bought into that.
Next question, Travis Green. Go ahead, Travis.
Hey, Jake, I just want to know from your perspective, how big is it to have all the news that came out today before that December 4th deadline? And kind of a two-parter here. Building off of that, how helpful is it for you guys to have a future now where you don't have to think about what's going to happen and you can start just looking forward to the future as a coach?
Well, like I said, today is still a time where, we solidify what's going to happen next year, right? Pat alluded to the 2-year grace period, and, what that looks like is going to be exciting as we continue to work through, what our ultimate future is. But at the end of the day, it sets a target. It really does. I think it's a really positive thing. We've had open and honest communications as we've gone through, this process, and hopefully play a lot more games in our footprint. I think will be important to our families of our players, and our guys want to compete against the best. Let's make no mistake. Our guys are Power 5 football players that want to play against the best, period. So we'll continue to work in every avenue to allow our team to still compete that way.
All right, next question, Alex Crescente. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Coach. So you sort of just confirmed it there with the ability to play in the college football playoff. And obviously, the pitch to, potential recruits is they obviously they want to play at the biggest level. In this new format, you're still going to be eligible for bowl games moving forward, correct?
Yes. That'll be the same as ever. Yes.
Thanks.
All right, next question. Andrew Quinn. Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, Jake, I know you're not a fan of talking about players who have left your program, so I want to give you a platform to talk about the guys you still have, especially John Mateer. What is your level of confidence in him to be the leader, the face of your school moving forward? And is he a guy that can take in that role that Cam had in your program over the last 2 years?
And that's probably the follow-up that I needed to the Cam question, is that we knew this was coming, and we've been working with John every step of the way to be ready and putting him in as much situations that we can, game-like in practice, but obviously using in some games to see what he's capable of doing. We have seen plenty of things through his 2 years here to know that he is ready for this opportunity. Okay, now this is the most competitive position, at the hardest position to play in all of sports. Okay, John knows that he needs competition, and we'll work to bring in competition for John. But here's the sell that, you know, we're the only team in the country that has 3 receivers that have caught over 800 yards. You know, we're one of the top 10 passing offenses in the country. And John's skill set is different. He's more of a power player, a power thrower, but he is going to operate our offense at a really highly just efficient level, you know, to the degree that we want it run. But he's got to be himself. That was our first conversation that we had this week of, I want him to be the best version of John Mateer, period. And I remember talking and telling you guys about the kid in fall camp when the stadium lights were off, was out on the field at 11 o'clock at night, running through plays in his mind. Those are the intangible pieces that are going to lead John to a lot of success. But I'm excited about whatever that leads to. We don't just hand people jobs. He's got to go out there and earn it, and there will be competition along the way. So it's the same thing for Jackson Potter and, you know, obviously whoever we're going to sign to really, really compete in that room, because when your quarterback room is ultra competitive, it just leads to tons of success for your football team. But John is ready for his moment, and I'm extremely excited to work with him.
As a reminder, if you have a question, please raise your hand. You'll be called upon. Next up, Jamie Vinnick. Go ahead, Jamie.
Coach, when you kind of had these conversations, what are Jaden Hicks and Shaw Smith-Wade thinking right now, whether it's NFL, NIL, or staying at Wazoo?
I think those are all private conversations, Jamie. You know, I think we're working on those things. But at the end of the day, they both share in a really positive experience here at Washington State. You know, to a man, they've really been appreciative of, you know, us finding them. You know, I know Shaw was a guy that was committed to us at Wyoming at one point, and we brought him here. And Hicks we found through, you know, the COVID season at Gorman, and developed them and helped them along the way to become the players that they are. And these are real decisions. You know, I want to make sure that these are things that we sit with families, we get them as much information as possible, to allow them to make one of the biggest life decisions that they'll ever make. So proud of these guys. We've had open and honest communications, and, you know, we'll share that information at the appropriate time.